So welcome everyone to the Rutgers Community Living Education Project's bite-sized lunch series, Making Assistive Technology Work for You. The Rutgers Community Living Education Project, also known as CLEP, is a program housed here at the Rutgers School of Public Health. The CLEP team can serve as a bridge for self-advocates and for families whose loved ones are ready to explore community residential living options. CLEP is committed to providing individual guidance, mentoring, and education surrounding community living resources for people with intellectual or developmental disabilities. Today's topic is assistive technology for medication, and this is part 8 of our year-long series that I suspect many of you have been joining for the past several months. This is provided in collaboration with the Richard West Assistive Technology Center at Disability Rights, New Jersey. Just a few Zoom housekeeping tips. Please be sure your microphone is muted for now, and when we open the session for questions, we'll be happy to unmute anyone who would like to ask a question. And we're delighted today to have Naomi back, who many of you have seen, of course, for our last several sessions, but we also have 2 additional guests joining us. The first is Stephanie Howland, who's a licensed social worker with over 20 years of experience. And most recently, in the large portion of that, it's been with the United Way of Northern New Jersey, specifically with their Caregivers Coalition. She has helped to create and manage the Assistive Technology for Caregiving Families program since it was piloted back in 2018. And also joining us is Robin Ennis, who has worked with the United Way for about 23 years, and she's dedicated herself to helping people there. She joined the United Way in 2012 and also manages the Caregivers Coalition, but specifically in Sussex and Warren counties, in addition to being the Assistive Technology for Caregivers program specialist. So we really appreciate you both being here. And some of you may have noticed that I'm not Melanie McGackin, your usual host, but we hope she's enjoying her time away. Naomi, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you if you're ready. And those watching, you can see the link to the slides, and I'll put those also into the chat box. So please feel free to tell us where you're from if you'd like in the chat box. Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm Naomi. We do want to hear from you, so please ask to turn on your mics and use the chat, as Kathleen said, because we want to make this as interactive as possible. So please ask questions and share your ideas. It's all about sharing and brainstorming, and because you guys probably have lots of solutions that we haven't thought of. Thank you. As I said, I'm Naomi. Mike Murata, unfortunately, had something come up, so he's not with us today, but he is the director of ATAC, and I'm the Assistive Technology Specialist. And I am going to have Stephanie and Robin introduce themselves now, and they could tell you a little more about themselves. And they are our star guest speakers.
Thank you, Naomi, for the introduction, and Colleen, I do appreciate you inviting us to join you today for this program. So as Colleen said previously, my name is Robin Ennis, and I am with the United Way of Northern New Jersey, specifically the Caregivers Coalition, and I am also the Assistive Technology Program Specialist for our Assistive Technology for Caregivers program with the United Way. If you have questions outside of assistive technology that you need support with as an unpaid family caregiver, or a provider in the community who would like to learn more about the Caregivers Coalition, please feel free to reach out to either Stephanie or myself, and we're happy to share with you the link to our website, our Pathways for Caregivers guide, and a variety of other resources and information. We do host virtual programs monthly. So if you want to be on that mailing list, you can also leave the information in the chat for particularly your email address, your name, and whether you're a caregiver and or a provider. And we're happy to get you in the database to receive invitations and any other pertinent information related to family caregiving. So Steph.
Thanks, Robin. And also thank you to Colleen and of course, Naomi for having us today. Robin, you covered a great majority of the intro piece, so I will just reiterate that I am Stephanie Howland, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Caregivers Coalition and our work, which will lead into how we are related to assistive technology and kind of how we got into that part of it all. So looking forward to that and hearing from all of you, and thanks again for having us.
Thank you for being such willing participants or guest stars. Thank you. Just a little bit about ATAC. We are the Assistive Technology Act for New Jersey. And what we do is we do device demonstrations, which is so important, where you get to see features of devices that you want to try out. So you can compare the features and see if, and decide for yourself, this is a feature I need, or this isn't what I want, and compare, contrast with the demos. We also, and this I think is a really great program, we have a loan program where you get to trial devices for free, and our partners in that is Advancing Opportunities. And you can find all this information at atacfornewjersey.org. And trialing devices before you buy them is so important, because you don't want to buy a piece of equipment and not use it, because you spend a lot of money for it. So you just want to trial it, and you can trial it for free. It's free to all New Jersey residents or anyone who works with a New Jersey resident. We also have a reuse program where people donate their no longer needed equipment to Goodwill Home Medical, and they will refurbish it and get it back out into the community for reuse. Another great program. Those are our three core functions. Just the next three upcoming bite-sized lunch series. And you want to learn more about AT and brainstorming with others? The AT Town Hall is a weekly town hall we have where professionals come, individuals come to ask questions and brainstorm ideas. It's a great way to form a community too, and get more knowledge about AT. It's every Monday at 12. We also have a Maker Roundtable. It's the third Wednesday every month, where people come around and brainstorm ideas about making stuff that isn't out there already. And it's really exciting to be making something that isn't out there for individuals already. Great opportunity to also learn. And this is the last one, and then we would get on to subject at hand. But we have partnered with ATIA, which is a learning center, and they offer free videos on every topic of AT. And usually most of the webinars that are there are $45. But we partner with them So you get to watch all these great videos for free. It's free to anyone that is a New Jersey resident or works with New Jersey clients. It's a great way of building your knowledge of AT. And the website is there, and the scan code is there. So join and continue learning. There's lots and lots of information there. And did you want to say a little bit more, Stephanie or Robin, a little bit more about the Caregivers Coalition mission?
Yeah, just really quickly, thanks, Naomi. Earlier, when we were introducing ourselves, and for those of you who may not have joined us, I said I would give a little bit of background about the Caregivers Coalition, and I think it kind of helps to understand how we got into the business, if you will, of assistive technology and helping caregiving families. So you can see here, hopefully, the mission of the Caregivers Coalition, which has been the same since we started over 17 years ago, originally in Morris County. And right now we serve Morris, Warren, Sussex, Somerset, and suburban Essex counties under United Way of Northern New Jersey. We are functioning really fully virtually at this point. So even though those are our primary areas, any one of you on this recording today are welcome to join us. And as Robin said, you can sign up to be part of our mailing, and you'll get those invitations to all of our educational programs. The biggest piece of this is that we are here to support family caregivers, and that's anyone across the lifespan. Doesn't matter who you're caring for, whether it's a child with special needs, a parent with dementia, a sibling with a mental health issue. As long as you're a caregiver, we are there to support you and help you. And we do that with a bunch of different things. Namely, if you want to advance to the next one.
Sure.
To surprise you. Thank you. So really, these are some of the things that, as Naomi mentioned, you know, when you're brainstorming and after 17 years, you start to recognize, I think, some of the most important things that caregivers need, what's missing, what gaps still exist. And I'm sure for any of you out there, you would agree there are quite a few. But every project and program that we take on is at the request of a caregiver and what caregivers tell us they need. So this is a list of some of the things that we've put out over the years to really help caregivers in their role. The Pathways for Caregivers is a great example. It's a guide that goes from really the beginning of your caregiving journey and gives you a bunch of different information to help you through the caregiving pieces, legal information, how to access Medicaid and Medicare. And it really doesn't matter where you live. It's meant to be something that's kind of not time sensitive or area sensitive. And other pieces of this I think are important, but we can skip over. If you're interested, we will talk more to that. Happy to, as Robin said, reach out. But the Assistive Technology for Caregiving Families program is one of those. I can assure you, Robin, she may say this, nor I are experts in any way, shape, or form around technology or devices. But this kind of fell into our lap around 2018, I want to say, maybe a little bit before. What we do as part of our program and historically had been to present different topics that are of interest to caregivers. And we would bring caregivers together along with community providers and have a meeting. And during these meetings, we would do presentations on all different things: Medicare, Medicaid, how to access DDD, how to pre-plan a funeral. And one of the speakers that we had was offering to do a presentation on how assistive technology might be able to help. At the time, what they said was a vulnerable population. And I thought, okay, what's this? Sure, why not? We could use a new interesting presentation. And One of the other events that we hold is called the Caregivers Cafe. And at the time, we would invite family caregivers just to enjoy themselves, have a little food, coffee, and company of other caregivers. And during that meeting, I explained to one of my colleagues and volunteers that this was the presentation we were going to have the next morning. And she said, you know, that's so interesting. I was just at a client's house and I was sitting at their table. She was a care manager for senior services department. And as we were talking, this voice kept coming across the room saying, Susan, take your medicine. Susan, take your medicine. And after a while, she looked around and said, okay, I'm sorry. I can't ignore this anymore, to the caregiving daughter and said, what is that? And she said, oh, that's just Alexa. She wants to talk to me right now, I can assure you. Said there she goes. She is the only one my mother will listen to take her medication, and it helps me not have to leave my job every day to make sure that she's doing it. Think about that. So this was pretty new, pretty darn new to everyone around 2017, 18, at least the general public, I would think. I thought, wow, you know, when you think about assistive devices and things like that, I always thought it was like making your home smart, putting in stair lifts and all of these big pieces of equipment. What this device now especially is well under 100. And many of these things are available even in our smartphones and everyday things that we use. We just don't really know about it. And it's hard to discover how to use that because, well, we're busy doing caregiving things. So really that's how the Assistive Technology for Caregiving Families program was born. And it's gone through a few iterations, but I'm going to turn it over to Robin now to just give you some idea of how these simple devices can be used by all of us. And I am not kidding when I tell you we are not device specialists.
Not by any stretch of the imagination. Thank you, Steph. And I just wanted to clarify that our Caregivers Coalition with the United Way of Northern New Jersey, as Stephanie said, is in 5 counties. We're in Morris, Somerset, Sussex, Warren, and suburban Essex. However, if there is a caregiver outside of our footprint that needs caregiver resources, support, information, those kind of things, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We can help get you connected within the community, because the purpose of the Caregivers Coalition, in addition to what the Assistive Technology for Caregivers program, is to help unpaid family caregivers get connected with resources, support, information, and education. I know that was one of the questions in the chat, so I just wanted to bring that up. And I also wanted to say that in terms of someone who is not the caregiver, but has a disability and is interested in more resources, yes, could we possibly provide you with some resources? Absolutely. But our really primary focus has been on the unpaid family caregiver and the person that they're caring for being the care recipient. So I'll go back to the assistive technology piece. I just wanted to clarify that. So some of the basic equipment that we provide to families, and these could be a caregiver who's caregiving for someone who's aging, and maybe they have some concerns with wandering, or they have some concerns with falling, unsteady on their feet, leaving on the stove, not regulating the heat properly, all those kind of things that can happen when there becomes a cognitive impairment, a physical disability, you know, in terms of a disease that's promoting not such positive aging. So we help them with putting indoor cameras in, so that if the daughter is the caregiver and she's at work and she's concerned because she's called mom 3 times, mom's not answering the phone, and she calls mom every day at 11 a.m. to check in, and she can't get a hold of mom, she could check in from the app on her phone through that camera to see, is mom in the chair in the living room? Has she fallen? Is she perhaps involved in her Jeopardy program and she didn't hear the phone ringing? She can't find her hearing aid, all those kind of things that can be monitored from, if you will, afar, as opposed to having to leave work and rush home to find that mom didn't have the phone turned on, or she dropped it in the recliner and didn't hear it ringing. So it definitely alleviates some of the stress of the caregiver having to leave the workplace or leave their other responsibilities, whether they have their own children and they could, be at an event for their child, and they get that call that mom's not answering the phone. I've tried. I know you're not on call right now, but can you drop in on the app and see what's going on? There's other things like we refer to them, most of us will refer to them as baby monitors. I don't like to call them that. I like to call them audio video monitors, because we do a lot of those for families. I have several families who are caregiving for children with disabilities, and they've come in really, really, really handy for the parents who are trying to give their child a little bit of independence, little bit at a time, and they don't want to barge into the bedroom when they don't hear them, making noise while they're supposed to be playing. They can drop in on the camera and say, oh, he is being quiet because he's creating something new with his, building blocks or whatever. The Ring doorbell, that's a great one for safety as well. So we always say to the caregivers when we engage them in conversation around the support that the Assistive Technology program can offer them, we always engage them in the conversation of what would work for you? What were you thinking might be helpful? And that's how we've learned some of the other great devices that are available out there that might not have been in our thought process at the onset of the program. So I am growing in my learning and my education around assistive technology from folks like you that are in attendance today with your creative ideas. I can say that I haven't done a lot of technology device offerings around medication management, medication safety in terms of devices. But I'm really excited to learn with all of you. So again, Naomi, thanks for bringing us here today, and I'll turn it back over.
Thank you guys for more information about your program. Your program is so, so wonderful, and both of you are rock stars. Thank you, and thank you for being here. Okay, just want to give you a little background on this. Studies have shown that why this is such an important topic. 69% of people forget to take the medication. Before we believe, well, people don't take it due to cost or because of side effects. That's not true. It's mostly because they just forget, or they take it at the wrong time, or they mix up medications, which can really be dangerous. And because people forget, it results in premature deaths, more illness, more everything. So this is such an important topic, and we are just going to cover like some ways that we can help people remember, because 69% of the population forgets about this all the time. And we just need to cover it. And actually, we always look at the individual. And we go through this slide. People have heard about CLEP before. We always look at the individual. We look at the environment. Are they taking it at home, or are they away from home? We look at the task involved. And then we look at the tools. The tools is always the last thing, but we need to get the individual involved, because we need to know what is working or not working from them and the environments they're going to be in. And as I said, we are not experts in assistive technology for medication. So people feel free to use the chat, ask for your mic to be turned on, and share your ideas with us and what helps you. always important to use what you have first. Your phone could be a great way of getting what you need because all phones, computers have calendar reminders, note apps, visual alerts. Look in your phone and see what's already there and use that first and see if that helps. Okay, and now just some assistive technology. One of the best assistive, and Stephanie and Robin, feel free to chime in anytime. And everyone, feel free to chime in, ask questions. One of my favorite assistive technology, and it's really low cost, is Post-it notes. You could put a Post-it note. Everyone goes to the fridge in the morning. Put a giant Post-it note on your fridge saying, take your meds at 9 o'clock. Put it in your bathroom mirror. Put it places you look. And it's really inexpensive. It's just a way of reminding yourself. And I find Post-it notes work really, really well if you just put them around. Put it on your TV. Put it on devices that you use to remind yourself, and then rip it off once you do it. Really easy, really a cheap solution. Another one is in the middle, right next to the Post-it notes, is the timer caps. Timer caps would tell you when the last time the bar was open. So if you forget to take your meds, it would say it wasn't open. It was open at 7 o'clock a.m. and now it's 7 p.m. and you go, oh, okay. It reminds you to take it because it would show you the last time something was open, and it will remind you, oh, I forgot to take it yesterday because I was supposed to take it 2 times a day, once in the morning and once at night. And if it just says 7 a.m., you know you forgot your nighttime meds. So it would tell you it's really important. Also, you have Alexa, and Stephanie gave us a great example how that was used and why that was so helpful to be reminded to take your meds.
She just talked to me.
What did she say?
She said, I'm sorry, can I help you? Because she heard you say it. So she's very responsive, everyone.
Oh, wow. That is too funny. And you could track. So this is right next to the timer caps. And the nice thing about this slide is if you have these slides, you could click on each one of these things and it would give you more information about it.
One of the things, not to interrupt you, Naomi, but one of the things that I really liked about the device that you're talking about right now is the fact that it's reusable time and time again.
Yes.
Because you pop the buttons back from the back side to show them as like kind of a starting over point. So I thought that was pretty cool. I've never seen that before.
That is really cool. And that's a good point. You could use it over and over again. Mm-hmm. Great. And you have devices that would give you the time and date. And also and they will vibrate for you. Also, this one over here, if you can't hear the beeps or anything, this one will flash for you. Yeah. So it would give you a visual to see. So there are different things for different people. You have anything to add?
Yes, and one of the things that we provide through our program is the Echo Show and Echo Dot. And as you see on the screen here, Naomi has the Echo Show showing the one with the doggy on the sand, and it says 9:05 a.m. That is a great tool for medication management. And a variety of other things. It can be entertainment for your loved one if they're feeling isolated because they can't get out the way they used to. It's great for folks that would prefer to hear the news in a different language. You can do that as well. You can communicate through that device to someone, whether it's your caregiver, you could communicate through that device. There's a lot of great technology in the Echo products, the Echo Show, is being shown here, but that's great for setting up medication reminders. The one thing that I will say is setting the reminder is part of the battle, but the other part of the battle is making sure that the medication is arranged appropriately for your loved ones. So they get that medication reminder that says, go to Tuesday's morning medication with the green lid. And you buy a Mediminder that has different colors for different days, come up with a system that works. And one of the things that I always recommend is, like, for example, what Naomi keeps saying, we want input from all of you because your creative ideas are helpful to us and certainly to other caregivers, because you may have found something that works well for you that we may not have thought of. So it's coming up with a system that works for you, that you and the other caregivers, you may have siblings or other family or friends that are helping in the caregiving responsibilities. Make sure everyone's speaking the same language when it comes to the medication management piece, because communication is going to be key. If for some reason you are the one checking in and you see that the medication has not been taken, who was the one that was supposed to be in that day and what was supposed to take place? So I always say, the reminders are great, but make sure that you have a system for safety and how the medication is dispensed. So I'll give you a little example. My husband and I don't take a lot of prescription medication at all, but my husband does. So the medication cupboard in the kitchen has his medication bottles, and it had one for me because I was on an antibiotic for, I don't even know now what it was because it's been a few years now. But I was taking what I thought was my antibiotic. Well, come to find out, the pill looked very similar to one of my husband's blood pressure medications. I don't have, or at the time I did not have, high blood pressure. I was taking his blood pressure medication by mistake, thinking it was my antibiotic. So needless to say, I was not getting better from what the antibiotic was treating. And my blood pressure was so low, I couldn't get out of bed. I felt so tired. I was exhausted and I didn't know why. And it turned out it was because I was mismanaging my medication. So now we have two separate cupboards, and he has his in one. And if I should need a prescription, mine is in the other. But it just goes to show that, my medication was being taken as directed. So I thought, and no, as a matter of fact, it was not. So medication management tools are super helpful, no matter what your age, your cognitive ability, your, whatever. It's just super important. And talk to your healthcare provider. Okay, mom has Parkinson's and she can't open that little tab on those medication things. She can't twist the jar. We all know how hard those anti-child lids are. And talk to your healthcare provider. What type of medication management assistive technology devices would you encourage? And if your healthcare provider is unable to give decent recommendations, certainly you can always do Google searches, talk to other caregivers, talk to other healthcare professionals, and also reach out to, if you have a loved one you're caring for who has dementia, reach out to the Alzheimer's Association and say, what type of assistive technology medication management devices would you recommend for my mother who has this particular diagnosis? And lean on your professionals that are directly related to the particular diagnosis, Parkinson's, whatever it may be, because they may have some really great, creative, safe ideas also.
Robin, that's a really great point. And just to kind of add to that, you know, one of my favorite lines for what I do is I know really little about lots of things, but I know a lot of people who know a lot about certain things. And so tapping into that network, depending on what your concern may be, as Robin said, if it is related to memory or cognitive, that is something that an Alzheimer's group might be more familiar with, or a doctor of neurology, et cetera. What if it is the ability even to open things or to be able to get to the medication? That might be something to ask a home modification and safety company, which they exist as well, and they've gotten really creative. There's just a lot of different avenues, I think, that if you aren't sure where to start, every county, if you're not familiar, obviously Naomi's group, and just by you being here, you know of some great helping community providers, but every county is mandated to have an aging disability resource connection. And that's a great starting point. If you're not sure who might be the expert in something, usually they will have somewhere to refer you for that starting point. And you express what that issue is, that's where you can kind of get some ideas as to where to go first.
Great.
Good point.
Really, really good points. And I just want to emphasize one of the points Robin made. Tools are great, but you just can't have a tool. You need a strategy with that tool, because I could put up Post-it notes and put all the reminders up I want, but if I just keep hitting snooze or just tearing down the Post-it notes, it's not going to work. It's not going to help me take my medications or anything. So you need a strategy. Tools are wonderful, but if you're not using the tool with a strategy, it just becomes something else that doesn't work. So you need to first have a strategy and then look for a tool. And tools come and go, but strategies stay. So learn a strategy first. And then it doesn't matter what tool you use, because you have that strategy to fall back on.
That's a great point, Naomi. And one of the things about it, building a strategy, is to consider the abilities of the care recipient. So if you're
Correct.
building a strategy that you think is going to work well for you as the caregiver, make sure that the care recipient understands it. You know, if you have somebody that's colorblind, color coding the caps on your, your device that you're going to use
Yeah.
for medication dispensing, that's not going to work well if you're going to use colors as the indicator in the reminders. So, it's really important to make sure that you're aligning with the caregiver and the care recipient in terms of what works the best in planning that strategy.
Great
And
point.
I just wanted, I'm sorry to, Richard had some great questions, and speaking to technology, I tried to answer one and it didn't work out as well in my attempts. So I sent a link. His question was around helping those with epilepsy. And I sent a link to the New Jersey Caregivers.org or Caregivers of New Jersey. And one of their services is around Epilepsy Services New Jersey. So again, when we're talking about who to go to, they might be an option, and they may have some ideas for different tools around exactly what we're talking about, devices, medication management, that are specific to those who may need help or diagnosed with epilepsy. So that's one option. And his question also was around those who might live in Hudson County. And again, I would say to first tap into your aging disability resource connection, which is often through the Office on Aging and Disability Services. If you Google that and your county, that will come up. And if you want to reach out separately, I can also help link you to that.
Great, thank you. And we have some free apps that may be helpful. And you guys can explore it. Some send reminders, some vibrate, some educate the users on the meds, and they have trackers to let you know when they need to be refilled. So look into them. I believe there's links to all of them. Now it's your turn for you guys to use the chat or share your ideas. We have a scenario for you. Put on your thinking caps. And let me see. Jen is a young lady with DD who lives independently, but she often gets her medicines mixed up or takes them incorrectly or forgets to take them all together. What can you suggest to help her? This is your time to share and ask questions. Anyone, feel free to ask to have your mics turned on.
And if anyone would like to ask a question verbally, feel free to just raise your hand. I can unmute you, or you can do that yourself as well.
One of the other suggestions is your pharmacist. They are a wealth of information in terms of suggestions. So use your pharmacist as a resource as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. And I see,
Thank you.
Brooke, thank you for your comment that just came to the panelists called MediPlanner and a timer. And Terry, I see you have your hand raised. I'm going to unmute you if you'd like to ask your question out loud.
Yes, I'd like to make a suggestion, a comment.
Sure. Thank
So
you.
my son has epilepsy, and so he has to take medicine every day for epilepsy. So one thing we do, we use the pill boxes that, the weekly setups, and then you have the daily ones. And then, but one thing he does is he texts me whenever he takes it. And then he says, that's not just for me, but it's for him too. Because so then when he texts me, then he has it in his phone that he took it and what time he took it. And then I have it and I know he took it. So that's a good, and he rarely forgets it or is late because he's really good about that. But if on some occasion he's, preoccupied or busy or something, and I haven't heard from him on the text, then I'll call him. So that's helpful because because that's a helpful way to know if he took it or not. And then also he has multiple ways of checking himself. He can look at his pill box to see if it's empty, and that way he knows if he took it or not. And then he can look in his texts. So so that we find that very helpful. And he uses a flip phone because he has trouble with the smartphones, just an old-fashioned flip phone, send a text. So I just wanted to say that works really good for us.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Terry.
You're welcome.
That's great.
That is great. That's a great plan. I like that strategy. Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome. Oh, can I say one more thing?
Sure thing.
Yeah. Another thing too is now he takes medicine twice a day. Now in the past, sometimes he's had to take it 3 times a day, and that's really, really difficult to do. Sometimes 3 times. So then, like if sometimes he has to be prescribed something new, like an antibiotic or whatever, and and it has to be taken 3 times a day, we always ask, is there anything he can take, an alternative that he can take twice a day? And often there is. And so that makes it a lot easier. So then, we wanted to say something.
An antibiotic that the woman put me on it. And it was 4 times a day.
Oh yeah. One, he was saying there was 4 times a day, but
Wow.
oftentimes there is. And that makes it convenient because then he can just take whatever it is twice a day. He can just add it to his regular time. And that's much easier. So a lot of times people don't think of, hey, is there an alternative? So always ask your doctor that if that's a problem for you.
Yeah, but usually
So I just wanted to say that, yeah.
Usually when it's 4 times a day, it's not twice a day, they can give it to you, but they can give you an antibiotic that's 3 times.
Right.
Very, very rare.
Right.
Okay,
Very, very
so I just
rare
wanted to
they
tell you that
give
too, yeah.
an
Great.
antibiotic that's
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. That great information. Thank you. Great plan. And let's see if we have any text. And Gloria shares a weekly medication box. Great idea. Anyone else? Anyone else have any strategies or technology they will use to help take your meds? Please feel free to share. Turn on your mics. This is where we all can brainstorm together.
Someone says, Naomi, my family set up phone alarms and med app reminders for my brother who has an IDD. He often turned off the alerts and forgot to take his routine meds. I gave up and now use blister packing for his AM and PM meds. I text or call him twice a day to ask if he took the meds. So the blister packing from the pharmacy is always a great suggestion too.
And it's such a good idea because, you know, the reminders, again, we're serving caregivers through our program and, you know, you can't, sometimes it takes more than one person to be on top of that. And as
Right.
Naomi mentioned earlier, maybe those reminders are for you as the caregiver to help make sure you have the reminder to help the person you're caring for take their medication. You know, it's always good to have that backup for something so important.
Right. And it's always good, just because you have a reminder set, if you have no real strategy going along with it, the reminder is just not going to be used. So a backup plan that
I
works.
agree, Naomi. Plan B is always good to have, especially in certain caregiving roles where you're caregiving for someone with dementia, for example. You know, as their needs increase, you have to be able to alter your plan and come up with something that might be safer or better based on
Right.
how things are progressing. So always being able to kind of, like most caregivers, just be on the fly when you need to.
And
Right.
Richard, I see you're raising your hand. If I'll go ahead and I'll unmute you for your comment, Richard.
Yeah, so
Richard, go ahead.
yes, as I said in the chat, I use phone alarms, and
Mhm.
this morning before I came out, my mom made me do a list on how to plan my day. But on the phone alarms, I basically have different alarms for different things I need to do for my house or for my own purposes. So I'll I'll set the alarm for I would say maybe 8 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock at night, and then like my alarm will ring, and then that's when-
And that will remind you.
what?
And that will remind you to take the medications.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sometimes if I'm pretty serious, I might forget, but usually I don't forget that much. It's only when be sleepy or like when the medications makes me feel tired.
Mhm.
But that's how I usually get reminded how to take my medication. So if
That's
some people have an app for alarms, they can just do that, set it on alarm like, from a ringtone that you might like from
right.
um
Thank you.
use that, and then you listen to your favorite ringtone, and then it goes off, turn off, and then that's how you can take your medication.
Got it. Thanks so much, Richard.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Jill shares with, our issue is the med is controlled substance and can only be gotten from pharmacy every 30 days. If they are out of it, it is hard to get it to be able to take on time. Also trying to remind DD Doer to order and pick it up on time. She doesn't drive, so sometimes transportation is an issue. And there are apps that would track when the meds need to be refilled. That could also be served as a reminder that it's getting close to the time for a refill. And
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Naomi. Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
no,
speak
go
up.
ahead.
Oh, I was going to unmute someone else. Mary, I see your hand is raised. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Allowed to talk is not available. Oh, okay. Hold on 1 minute, Mary. I should be able to get you to, I think I have you, Mary. Are you able to? Let me try.
Is that
Yep.
better? Yep.
There you go. We got you now, Mary. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I just wanted to share briefly that my son has become accustomed to having his evening meds. I do a weekly planner, a weekly box with dailies, and the evenings have been easier, and he's pretty good about it. But recently he's gone on a morning med, and we were struggling with that. But I too had to put my morning meds by the coffee pot, if you will, because that's a daily ritual for me. So
Right.
which was great. My son saw that. It's IDD that he has, and we were brainstorming where would be a good place for him. So he has it now by his lunchbox. So daily on the way out, he will take it. But we're working on something for the weekend. It's okay during the week when he has program, but weekends we're trying to master something. I just wanted to share that. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Mary.
Thank you. That's a good strategy. Thank you.
And we have another individual with their hand raised. Kathleen, I see your hand is raised. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Kathleen, do you should be able to?
I actually just answered Kathleen's question that she had in the Q&A.
Okay, great.
So
Kathleen.
hopefully that'll be helpful. If not, she can reach back out and I'll see what I
Okay.
do.
Got it. Okay, good. Let me just be sure there's no one else. No, I think that's all I see for the hands raised right now, Naomi.
Okay, great. Kathleen made a great suggestion. Thank you. Perhaps put the meds in a favorite bowl or coffee mug. That's a good idea too. This way they are sure to see it. That's a good strategy too. Thank you for sharing, Kathleen. Agreed, Stephanie, very creative. Anyone else have ideas they want to share, or strategies, or questions? We're open for questions too.
Robin, I just want to confirm you addressed the echo issue question. Is that correct?
I did.
Okay, just wanted to be sure. Thanks.
And at the end, these are all links to other great resources. Check them out, and they may give you more ideas. And thank you, everyone. Thank you all for coming. This was fun. And thank
Yes,
you,
Naomi,
Stephanie,
thank
and-
you for having us, and Colleen, thank you.
Thank you all, our pleasure, and thank you everyone for joining us. As you may know, we
Wonderful.
have, I believe there are 3 more sessions that are scheduled that will take us into 2023. I'm sorry to say we're almost there, but we are in 2023 soon. And we have sessions scheduled for January, February, and March. So I'm sure you'll all see the announcements for those. And as we end the program, you'll see pop up our program evaluation. So please do take a minute to give us that feedback. We always appreciate your suggestions and your ideas. It's really very helpful to us. And I'm going to go ahead and also pop the evaluation link into the chat box, just in case someone wants to click on it from there. So in the interim, folks, enjoy the rest of 2022 while we're here. Enjoy the upcoming holidays, and we'll see you again in January. Thank you again to our presenters.